The Arc2E and ArcWeb are flexible tools for controlling the Symmetrics ZoneMix 761 series DSPs. This tech tip will explain programming source select and volume controls for an ArcWeb, but the process will be very similar for Arc2E. In this example, there are 4 sources available in a hotel: a Sonos media player, TV, PC, and a Bluetooth wall panel. There are also 4 zones in the building: entrance, lobby, lounge, and patio. For our zone source and volume control, there are 2 main sections we'll focus on. Output routing, which will determine which output gets which zone's mix. And zones, which are the zone mixes, that will then go to our real-world areas. Open up the output routing page. Notice that the connect points are by default in this stair-step pattern. This means that Zone 1 will only feed output 1, Zone 2 will only feed output 2, and so on. The zones labeled like this can be confusing, however, they relate directly to the physical outputs when the connect points are set up this way. In this sense, we could relabel all zones to their outputs. For now, we'll leave zones 1 through 6 labeled as default. Now, open up the zones page. By default, we'll be looking at Zone 1 under the Sources tab. Program 1 and Program 2 are channels within Zone 1 that we can choose an input source to feed. In this case, we'll only be using Program 1 and we'll be using it as the source selection parameter. Both Program 1 and Program 2, along with a page station that we won't cover in this tech tip, feed along to the master zone volume gain fader. This is where we'll control the overall zone volume, which then feeds directly to the physical outputs. With this understanding of how the signal flow works, open up the external control wizard. We can see 2 major options: add new external controller and edit existing external controller. By default, all Symmetrics DSPs come with 4 instances of ArcWeb. Because of this, we'll choose Edit Existing Controller, select ArcWeb 1 and click Next. Enable the ArcWeb and name it appropriately to what its intended use is. This name will display on the web interface. Then click Add New Menu. There are 4 options available for ArcWeb menus: Volume, Mute, Preset, and Select. We'll start with Select to set up our source selection for zones. Choose Select and click Next. The parameter drop-down shows which elements in the ZoneMix software fall into the category of Select options, which are those program drop-down selectors we looked at previously. In this case, we will choose Zone 1 Program 1 selector. Zone 1 because that is for entrance, and Program 1 because we're not using Program 2. The name field is for naming the menu for these controls. The list of channels are the sources that the menu selection includes. In this case, there are only 4 channels that we need for sources: Sonos, TV, PC, and Bluetooth. The checkboxes determine which of these sources will be included in the menu. For example, if entrance should only ever be able to choose between Sonos and PC, we would only include those in the menu. Select the available options to include and click Next. We are returned back to the Menus page of the wizard, where we can add more menus or edit the existing ones. Now we can set up the volume control for the entrance. Click Add New Menu. Naturally, we will select Volume on the next page. The choice between continuous and enumerated will depend on the needs of the installation. The large majority of cases will use continuous. Make the appropriate selection and click Next. If we open the parameter drop-down, notice there are many more and different options than available for the source select menu. These are all the volume controls available in the ZoneMix software. For the entrance zone volume, we could control the Zone 1, Program 1 gain fader. However, there may be a time which Program 2 may need to be included in the Zone 1 mix. It would make more sense to control the overall zone volume with the Zone 1 master gain fader. This would be the green fader in the zone area we looked at previously. Just as with the source selection, we can name this menu appropriately. The upper and lower limits are available if necessary. Click Next when ready. We are again brought back to the main page for the ZoneMix, where we can add more menus or edit the existing ones. Let's add a second source select and volume control. Add New Menu and choose Select. This will be the source selection for Lobby. This time, we'll need to select Zone 2, Program 1 Selector. This is because Zone 2 is lobby, but we still want to control the Program 1 selector. Name the menu appropriately and select or deselect the source options necessary for this zone. Then click Next to return to the menu home page. Click Add New Menu and choose Volume, Continuous, and then choose the parameter for Zone 2 volume. Again, we could control the volume of Program 1, but Program 2 might need to be included in the zone at some point, so the Master Zone Gain Fader makes more sense for zone volume. Click Next to return to the menu home page. From the menu home page, click Next and continue setting up the Arc Web as desired. The last step is to launch the Arc Web and test control if necessary. You will need to be actively connected and online with a ZoneMix 761 DSP to do this. This tech tip will not go over setting up the Arc2E, but the process is nearly identical. There is a document tech tip on the Symmetrics website under Library, Videos, and searching for mono-source select and volume control for ZoneMix 761 using Arc2E and ArcWeb remotes.